Hey, hi, hello, it's me again. It's so good to see you. I have a shelf here now, don't mind that. I did bring you a piece of my birthday cake. Yes, that's right, yesterday was my birthday.
Happy birthday to me!
And you did miss my party, but I will forgive you, however, if you will go give the like button a smoosh.
Snacky went smush smush.
So today I'm going to be talking about a few things that I think are pretty interesting, namely the worst eyeshadow palette in my collection. And I have a couple of runners-up, but I'm also going to be using the new Rem Beauty Fembot collection, and I think I'm going to love this stuff so much that it will more than make up for how much I despise these eyeshadows. I'm gonna start with the lip plumper before I get ready, just to plump up the lips a little.
You don't say!
Gosh, this stuff is so pretty, and it smells like vanilla.
Hey, Jake,
What?
why do the insides of you smell like vanilla?
Wizard put a curse on me.
Huh, neat.
Okay, so the first runner-up palette we have is actually a palette I'm gonna use a little of today. This was a gift from a friend, so I will always cherish it and keep it in my collection. It is really cute, but there's a big problem with this. So this is called the Edgy Bitch palette. It's from Honey Drip Cosmetics, and it looks like it's a collaboration they did with Metallica MUA, who I'm not familiar with. I did try to find where this palette came from. I think my friend probably saw it on TikTok because it was a Canadian beauty brand and its website is no longer accessible. It doesn't seem to exist. It looks like you could buy this off of Facebook back in the day, but it doesn't seem to be around anymore. So if you're someone who's used a lot of different makeup, you'll probably notice something wrong with this right away. These glitters are not eye safe. They are not going anywhere near my eyes. They are so sharp, so large, so jagged. I would never use them on my eyes. I did try to use them on my body. Be prepared for them to be part of you because they will never leave. They will basically embed themselves into your skin. Once you get it onto you, it's nearly impossible to get off. I used oil, I used soap. It was a chore to get off.
That's what she said!
Another well-known brand that has plenty of money and does the same thing a lot, ColourPop. Neither of these glitters in the middle of these palettes are eye safe. I don't know why they do that all the time, and these ones are pretty much marketed to kids who are not going to know that that stuff should not go on their eyes. There are, however, 3 shades in this palette that I find usable, and there are definitely shades I have in other palettes, and that is Bleh and Lilith. And I'm going to be using Bleh on my eyes today. So let's go ahead and get into that. I'm going to use the Milk Hydro Grip Primer on my eyes because I really want to give this palette a fair shot.
A few moments later.
Now that my eyes are primed and my primer is set, I'm going to go in with this Real Techniques brush 102. And I'm just going to use Bleh, that sort of like grayish taupe, to fill in underneath my brow bone.
More moments later.
This is definitely patchy.
I'm gonna run away! That's what I'll do! Run away!
But my eyes are also starting to feel like the skin is starting to feel really dry, so I'm just gonna move on.
Move along, sir.
I'm just gonna use Lilith above that on the actual brow bone to maybe sort of blend out the edges and just sort of like a pre-highlight highlight.
Are you even gay?
I'm very gay.
That's kind of cute, but again, it's making my skin feel really dry. It is a little messy, but don't worry, I'm gonna clean it up later. I'm not gonna do a whole lot more with the eyes right now. Luckily, there's not a lot of fallout, so I think I'm just gonna move on to foundation. Primer first. I'm gonna be using the Rare Beauty Primer. It's a little travel size or a sample of their Always an Optimist Pore Diffusing Primer. And I'm going to be using that to set my skin up for the Rare Beauty foundation. Mine is in shade 110N. So the next runner-up eyeshadow palette I'm not going to be using on my face at all because I do have sensitive skin, and I'll get into that in just a second. But I'm interested to see what you know about this because when I got this palette, I recognized one of the ingredients, but not as something that's normally in my eyeshadows. It's actually an ingredient that I normally find in my nail polishes.
That's weird.
Now this ingredient, which I will show you on the screen, is an epoxy resin that is used in a lot of paints and polishes to create a sort of film or a barrier. I did look into it as much as I possibly could to see why this product would be used in an eyeshadow. Again, I could only find that it would create some sort of film. I'm not sure why that's ideal for an eyeshadow, maybe to get like a solid glossy look. I've used a lot of shadows from this company and I had not seen it in their shadows before, so I wasn't expecting it. Of course, like I said, I did my research and I wondered if something that's normally in paints and polishes would necessarily be good to put on your eyes. I know sometimes we just don't recognize ingredients and we get nervous and we think, oh no, that's not good. And then if you look into it, it turns out to be something pretty harmless.
It's just a fucking dog. It's just a fucking dog. Not a big deal. Not a big deal.
But I wanted to know what it was. I reached out to the company via email and I didn't get any response. I reached out to them on their social media page. I believe it was on Instagram, but it might have been on Twitter back in the day. And not only were my emails left unanswered, but all of my comments and questions were deleted.
That's suspicious.
Doing my own research, I could only find that this particular epoxy resin was definitely not friendly to the skin. Now, according to the companies that use this ingredient in their products for the skin or face, once the resin is cured, it's completely safe. It is only uncured that this resin can be a hazard to humans, in which form it can cause reproductive harm, eye harm, skin irritation, contact dermatitis, and even cancer, among other things. However, through my research, I have found no evidence that the cured version is completely safe, and if you do have sensitive skin, you are very likely to still experience these side effects. Now you're probably wondering which trusted brand had this ingredient in it. It was Urban Decay. This is the Game of Thrones eyeshadow palette. I believe it came out before the show ended when everything around it was super hype.
Timely too, you really got in on that Game of Thrones fever right at the peak.
It has a quote from Daenerys.
Best season ever!
And when you open it, it has a tiny pop-up Iron Throne and a quote from Tyrion inside.
I'm not questioning your honor. I'm denying its existence.
The palette itself is actually inside of this drawer. Definitely not ideal for travel and kind of clunky for storage. I've held on to it because even now, I still do love Game of Thrones, and this was a moment in history.
Best season ever!
People were screaming, trying to get their hands on this when they brought it to our Ulta. Here's a little glimpse of what the eyeshadows look like. And they're really pretty, especially ones like Stormborn and Frozen North. They're very sparkly and beautiful looking. They're not the most opaque in the world, but their performance is pretty much what you would expect from Urban Decay. I also found out that this is not the only palette to contain this epoxy resin. They've also had it in their Electric palette, their Gwen Stefani palette, and some other palettes. Whether or not that ingredient is a good one, I'm gonna leave that up to you, but me, I have sensitive eyes and I'm not gonna be putting this on them. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Urban Decay is not the only brand that uses that in their eye products or their face products. You know who else does? Daddy ColourPop. Yes, this epoxy resin is in a lot of their glitter gels and some of their eye products. So again, up to you whether you want to use it. If you have sensitive skin or eyes, use discretion. Speaking of ColourPop, now that my foundation is in place, I'm actually going to be using a ColourPop blush. This is from their Pokemon collection, obviously, and it is called Metronome. It's really cute. And I think it'll kind of match the Fembot vibe. This is a matte cream blush, by the way, so you want to build it up kind of slowly. She said before clowning herself.
The clowning has begun.
Someone say something? Hello? Friggin' event.
The brushes I use for foundation and blush, by the way, are from Rem Beauty. I'm not gonna lie, this really smells like, sort of like an inner tube. Or if as a kid you ever had those like rubbery plastic tents that you could put up in your yard. I had one from The Lion King and it smelled exactly like this blush. Now that the blush is on, I'm going to go in with that same Fenty Beauty contour stick, bronzer stick in the shade Amber. Last night I watched Heathers for the first time in like 5 years. I forgot how supreme that movie is. It's very, very.
How very?
If you haven't already seen it, I highly recommend it. Teenage me had a big crush on 88 Christian Slater.
Our love is God. Let's go get a slushie.
Next, as highlighter, I'm going to be using the new Rem Beauty Glow Stick in Fembot. So pretty. And since it's a cream that's sort of pressed into a stick, oh, that is soft. I'm just going to put it on my fingers and sort of roll it onto the top of my cheekbones. Despite all the sparkle you can see in the stick, this is actually a really subtle, like, shifty glow. I am going to put this all on my collarbones. This is so pretty in person. Pink and blue shift on this is stunning.
Absolutely stunning.
I'm going to quickly do my eyebrows a little bit with the good old Anastasia Brow Wiz, and I will be right back.
A few minutes later.
These brows need trimmed. They are starting to look like Craig's mom's bush.
Craig's mom's bush, Craig's mom's bush, gargantuan thicket of madness. Bigger than earth and denser than gold, truly a magical bush to behold.
This is ash brown, by the way, in case you were wondering. Now I'm going to go in with concealer and clean up around the eye area. I already know that I love the Rem Beauty concealer, so I'm going to be using the One Size concealer in shade Fair 1N. I am not a fan of Mr. Star and his chin diaper during the pandemic ways. Kind of left a bad taste in my mouth.
That's what he said, right, guys? Because of gay?
But everybody raves about his products. I've tried a couple and liked them. So I'm gonna give this concealer a try.
1 minute, 37 seconds later.
It doesn't offer a ton of coverage and it did oxidize to be a little warmer. I think it's acceptable and I really like the finish it has, the way it sits on my skin. Also, I'm using a Wet n Wild brush from that SpongeBob collection I showed you before. And it was kind of hard to read on this bottle because the font is in white and my shade is so light. But this is his Turn Up the Base concealer, by the way. Yeah, I really like the way this sits on my skin. If you have like mature skin or really fine lines, you'll probably like this. What's been up with you lately? I feel like we haven't talked in a while.
So what's up with you? We don't ever talk anymore.
What is up with me? Well, I got me a leaf mulch.
I'm going to finish the eyelid part of the look now, so I'm going to go in with Rem Beauty's Fembot Liquid Eyeshadow. And put that on the lid just to almost cut the crease. And I think I'm going to use the same SpongeBob Wet n Wild brush that I used for my concealer. I accidentally went over my crease a bit because I opened my eye and looked up while putting it on, but this stuff is so pretty, and it has kind of a pointed doe foot, so it makes it really easy to like get in there.
That's what she said.
Good Lord, have you guys heard Frankie Grande's new album, Hotel Rock Bottom? If you haven't, I highly, highly, highly recommend it. No skips on that album. All bops. If you're not into like party style music or like Bowie and Billy Idol, that kind of stuff, it's not going to be your cup of tea, but it is my cup of tea. It is in my DNA now.
You're freaking famous.
I know. Oh my god, it's so pretty. I just want to bathe in this liquid eyeshadow. Okay, now with that same exact brush, I'm going in with the Fembot powder single. This is their first powder eyeshadow single. I believe they're called the Sweet Dreams eyeshadow singles. Yes, I know, I'm geeking out, but I just love this shade. I am so excited that she made an entire collection of it because I could literally just cover my body in this shade. Even though this is a powder, it almost feels like a cream, and it lifts right up on the finger. Okay, I did not need much. I took too much.
That's too much, man.
Now that all my creams are on, I'm going to use a little bit of setting powder, and since everything in the Fembot collection is really sparkly and pretty, I want to use a dewy powder. This is a blast from the past. It's something I'm trying to pan. This is from Too Faced, and it's called the Do You powder. It's back when they were doing that Tutti Frutti collection, and it has a little bit of a sparkle on it, sparkle in it. It's translucent radiant pearl, and it smells like watermelon. I'm also going to use some powder bronzer. It's that Becca, Chloe, and Malika bronzer I showed you before that looks like cat food. That is part of my project pan. Obviously, I don't have my glasses on, so I really hope this looks as pretty as I think it does.
No!
Okay, I'm also going to go in with a powder highlighter just to like kick it up a notch. It's also from Rem Beauty. Booty!
Bubble butt, bubble, bubble, bubble butt, bubble butt, bubble, bubble, bubble butt.
It's called Honeymoon High. It's kind of like Fembot's Moody sister. No blue shift, but it has that pink sparkle, and it's a little bit darker. This is a Spectrum brush, A26. This is from their Alice in Wonderland collection, and it is so cute. I know I say everything is cute, but come on, it has a bow. This highlighter, I'm so pale, it could basically be used as a blush topper. You don't need a lot of it because it has a lot of pigment to it. Look at that. It kind of looks like I've been running a marathon right now, but I love it. I either want to look like a sick swamp witch or just like slightly overheated.
One thing about this ship, it cooks.
Should it be cooking?
Nah, but that's just real life.
And for the inner corner highlight, I'm using good old Cookie from Benefit because she never disappoints. I do have some glitter on my under eye from the Fembot powder, but that's really my own recklessness. I did not need that much eyeshadow. I really feel like this look would go so well with a little winged liner, but I'm so scared to try it and mess everything up.
I did it.
Okay, it's still crooked, it's still a mess.
You're a mess, woman.
As per usual, but I grabbed Urban Decay's eyeliner pencil in Rockstar, and that kind of fixed it a little. A little bit of mascara. I'm going to use the Rem Beauty ones for length and volume. For the lips, I'm going in with two different products, both Rem Beauty. First, Drive-In Movie, the classic lipstick. This is one of the perfect, like, My Lip But Better shades for me, but it does kind of want to fall out of the tube. And then I'm going over it with the Rem Beauty Glossy Balm in Fembot. Usually I would do this before the mascara, but I kind of forgot. Let's do setting spray. We're gonna do the Morphe Sour Patch Kids again because I'm trying to pan it. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, the worst eyeshadow palette I have ever had in my collection. I don't even use it on my face. I keep it around just to do crafts with. I'm sorry to the influencer that this is a collab with, but the worst eyeshadow palette I have ever had and used is the Wet n Wild Bretman Rock palette. I wanted to love this. This is so colorful looking, it's so pretty, but the shadows just don't do anything. The mattes do not blend for me no matter what I try to use to like prep the skin. The shimmers are not bold enough. They really just kind of blend away into nothing and then leave glitter everywhere. And just to add insult to injury, when I first opened it, the red shade completely exploded. And as you can see now, it is a complete mess of epic proportions because, like I said, I've just been using it for craft projects. Wet n Wild can be very hit and miss. This for me was a big, big miss. Ew! So these are the top 3 worst palettes I have in my collection. I think you know that they're all going to be getting a red star from me. That's 1 star. Sorry guys, honestly I'd rate this one lower if I could.
It doesn't change the 5-star man who he is. You're a 5-star man! I'm a 5-star man! Mr. Sandman. Yes? Bring us a I'm a 5-star man!
But for their own reasons, all 3 of these are a no from me, dog.
Is it a yes or a no, Frank?
It's gotta be no, dog.
This is the finished look. I really enjoyed all of the Fembot products. They are 5 out of 5 for me. I'm really liking the foundation, the blush, pretty much everything that I used today sits really well, works really well for me. The eyeliner, which I just really need to practice. Let me know what you think of the look. If you have any of the new Fembot products, what's your least favorite eyeshadow palette you've ever tried? Let me know in the cellar down below. Let me know what you want to see next. Do you want to see me trying to use bad makeup?
Does it please you to watch me struggle?
Do you want a challenge? Or do you just want a classic crash my stash? Again, down in the cellar. Let me know what you want, because I am here for you. Also, hit the subscribe button down below so you know every time that I'm up to no good. Thank you for coming and hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed your cake. As always, I had a great time with you, and until next time, buzz off.